ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to suggest that there is a role for the senator. Things stand out for me. The first is what Senator Wambua alluded to. A debate that has been raging for 10 years now. And as people who work in newsrooms, as journalists, like to reduce things to their simplest version so that it can be easily understood. And in the minds of many people, this issue has been framed as, which is the senior house? But today I dare ask, should it matter? Should that question be derived from law, or should it be derived from practice? So is it something that the Constitution donates, or is it something that senators themselves, by practice, is it space that you reach out and own, or is it something that is donated to you by a different entity, a different document? And I also like to suggest that there is acknowledgement nitampatia memo baadaye, lakini for now there is acknowledgement on the role of the Senate. And if anybody doubted, that acknowledgement has been delivered by Kenyans loud and clear in the recent elections. Indeed, that acknowledgement suggests what the core and the soul and the main pillar of our Constitution is. But I'll get there shortly. I'll also share with you fairly quickly, in terms of an overview, what the media ecosystem is, so that you can see the different parts of the media and how they interact and how they play. But we must also speak to the reality in the world today, infodemia. But I'm happy Mark is here. He's a high priest of infodemia, so I'll let him deal with a lot of that. But then there are also questions around media regulation, because as Senator Wambua said, the media is the fourth arm of government. And then finally, there's a whole question how each and every senator shows up in those various levels of media. Mr. Speaker, sir, ladies and gentlemen, as we sit here today, there are more than 200 radio stations in our country, most of them broadcasting away from Nairobi, and also broadcasting in vernacular, which means they're speaking emotionally to our people. There are 135 TV stations, most of them on the digital platforms, many of which I'm sure we don't know. There are 4 daily newspapers. I want to believe many of us know them. We have 1 weekly. There are more than 100 print publications. There are thousands of blogs and vlogs, and millions of Kenyans are on social media. So put simply, that is the media we are talking about. 5 minutes. So in that media, there is always the question of how does the Senate appear? How does the Senate look? And if you read the Constitution, I think 4 things come out how the Senate should appear. Assuming that we've accepted that the Senate is a protector of devolution. The first one, the Constitution makes a big deal of access to information for the public. So I want to propose that at an individual level and as a collegial, there has to be some deliberate methods and systems put in place to make sure that public access to Senate information is easy and in understandable formats. The second notion that we draw from the Constitution is the rights of communities to participate at all levels of governance. we must ask ourselves, how does Senate translate that right to something practical, to something real for each and every of your voters? There's a notion of citizen platforms. How do the people themselves get to engage, prioritize, and get then to share with you what their hopes and fears are, so that as you take and execute your roles, you indeed speak for those who did vote for you. And then finally, the whole question of public information and public communication, which begins to suggest that the Senate also is a watchdog of other entities. So as you watch over them, you need to also watch in the dimension of public access to information. While preparing for this presentation, we did a simple analysis of the results from the August elections. And we found of those in office today, having recently been elected, 57% of governors are new. 55% of senators are 70% of MCAs are new. 70% of MCAs are new. Compare that to just 39% of members of the National Assembly who are new. Kenyans have spoken loud and clear. Indeed, one might choose to even analyze how Kenyan participated in the presidential elections in 2007, 2013, 2017, and 2022. All of them contested presidential elections. But the attitude and participation of the ordinary voter is very, very different this year compared to previous years. Ladies and gentlemen, my hypothesis is that devolution is no longer a child. It's grown up, and Kenyans have paid attention and are taking very, very keen interest. And more, they are unforgiving in terms of performance for them, if the story of MCS is anything to go by. A few key issues that we pick from the performance of the last Senate. One is oversight. A synthesis of the reports from the Senate showed that a lot of the oversight is informed by the auditor reports.